and welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Introverted Nerd Watches. I am your host, Reese, and it's Tuesday, so it's time for Fear the Walking Dead. And you hear my voice, so you know that I didn't love it. In this episode, I watched Season 4, Episode 8, No One's Gone. You guys, first of all, excuse me because I have a cold and my voice probably sounds a little weird, or I don't know. I can't hear myself the way other people hear me, but I have a summer cold, which is the worst kind of cold. So, I mean, excuse me, but this episode, this season, anyway, subscribe to the podcast because I really deserve a subscribe for watching this show. And excuse me, just I deserve you hitting that subscribe button for watching this show. So subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Google Play and Stitcher. I'm on Spotify too, which I didn't know. I'm really out of it. I didn't know I was on Spotify, but apparently I am on Spotify. So listen to me over on Spotify too. I happen to listen to my podcast currently on Castbox, and I'm looking for something new. So I'm trying out a bunch of apps. So I'm everywhere. Subscribe. Leave me a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts. And let's get into this episode, y'all, because we finally get an answer to what happened to Madison. She dead. She is dead. I have been thinking that she's dead for the longest time she had to be dead because that is the only thing that would have made sense. That was the only explanation for why Alicia and Strand and Nick and Luciana were all so hell bent on killing the vultures. That was the only thing that made sense. So her being dead, her dying didn't shock. Her death scene actually didn't work for me that much because I mean, I was going to say that it was like this ambiguous death. They're playing with you, but I think this was it was filmed in the wrong way. I'll just skip to the death. We don't see her die on screen. And I knew the second we didn't see her die on screen that what happened was on Twitter, everybody was like, oh, she's not dead. She's coming back. I had a few people tweet to me, reply to my tweets, of course she's not dead. She can't die. She has to have a better death than that. We have to see her die. And I know everybody that has watched The Walking Dead is so we don't trust anything since the Glenn dumpster thing. So we cannot trust the show to do things like this. But she is actually dead. The show they were on, and this is something I really hate. I don't watch The Talking Dead, but I found out that on The Talking Dead, they made it really clear that Madison is actually dead. She is not coming back. She's who is it? Kim Dickens, that's her name, the actress that plays Madison. She was on The Talking Dead last night. She was on the In Memoriam that takes place on The Talking Dead. I really hate that you have to watch The Talking Dead in order to get finality for something that happens on the show. That makes me mad. I don't like it. They do it on The Walking Dead all the time. They've done it on Fear the Walking Dead this season. You get names of characters that they don't name on the show. Shit like that I really, really hate. You should not have to look at, you should not have to watch another show in order to figure out what's happening on the show that you're watching. I do not like that. I will never like that. So, that's just the kind of shit that happens. So, I really, I hate it. So, okay, what happens? So Madison dies. We don't see her die. We just see her set the fire to the walkers in the stadium, and you just see the fire explode on her face, and she's dead, and that's fine. I've never hid the fact that I'm not a huge fan of Madison, so it's whatever to me. The thing that I have a problem with is that they've drawn out this death for 8 episodes. They've drawn it out. And really for 6 episodes I've been thinking, why is nobody mentioning Madison in the present time? Why isn't that happening? So they've been drawing this out, and it's like you sort of ruin your story by this was not something that needed to be drawn out. You just sort of lose all of the you lose the drama of it. Madison dies to save her kids, and then one of her kids promptly dies after she dies to save them, supposedly. I got a lot to say about the way Madison sacrificed herself, because none of it worked for me. So let's start in the past, because they start this episode off with Madison meeting Al for the first time, trying to steal her truck, and it looks like it could be the present time. It looks like it could be after the fall of the stadium. Her running into Al, she got split up from everybody else, and the fall of the stadium, and then that's what it seems like. But there's a twist. This is actually further back in the past, before they even get to the stadium. So them with the time jumping and this timeline, you guys, okay, I wasn't even mad at that. I wasn't mad at the fact that that the opening between Madison and Al is something that happened further back in time. That didn't bother me. I do still have a problem with the time jumping in this show, which I hope will be something that we don't have to deal with in the second half of the season. So Madison and Al have this whole thing. Madison's trying to steal her car. She's trying to find her kids because they got split up. And we find out that this is not directly after the dam, because when I first watched the episode, I thought this is what happened. Not immediately, but after she finds everybody, this is what happens after the dam. But no, this is after they've traveled for a while, and they've tried to set up camps and in other places, and they failed. So they finally gotten to this place before, right before they find the stadium. So Madison actually I thought she was bitten. When this episode first starts, she has the sweaty look of somebody that has that's been bitten, and I was thinking oh my God, was Madison bitten? Is she about to die now? Are we about to see her die right before she finds her kids? But no, she was just I don't know, desperate, crazy. Her and Al go through this whole thing. It's actually a pretty cool moment where she zip ties Al's arm. It's basically the same scene that Al has with Nick earlier in the season, where Madison zip ties her arms, and she's looking through her tapes and everything, and then Al gives her the whole thing, like, do you know how many times I've been zip tied before? My arms have been zip tied before. And Al gets out of the zip ties again, but Madison, unlike Nick, puts Al on her ass and it's like, bitch, you not going, I'm better than you. I really appreciated that. I'm not a huge Madison fan, but I appreciated that moment where Al tries to stab her or something like I think she tries to hit her or stab her or something, and Madison blocks it and just turns her over on her ass and knocks her out. So, one for Madison. I can praise people for even the people that I don't like. I'm a mature person, so what else happens? And they go through a whole thing where, of course, Al wants her story, and once again, Madison, like everybody else, doesn't want to give doesn't want to give her story, doesn't want to talk about anything. And I'm like, oh my God, we've already seen, like, why are people so against this? Like, at first I got it. I was like, okay, this bitch is like really crazy. She wants to take our story. Like, but then once you get to this point, just me as a viewer of the show, I'm like, why don't they just lie? It's not like Al can go fact check the goddamn story. Just tell her whatever, and it doesn't matter. Just tell her a story. The same way Alicia and Strand and them, they sort of told Al, a bit of a bullshit kind of story. Well, they didn't even really lie. They just withheld some things. But what I'm saying is that Al can't fact check. Ultimately people could tell her whatever. It could just be a bunch of bullshit tapes that she has there and it wouldn't matter. So just tell her anything so you can get what you want. And this just seems like manufactured sort of manufactured sort of disagreements that just don't need to exist. When I wish it was different. I wish this stuff was different. I wish they had done something different. So eventually Madison decides to tell her story, and we get a story from Al about how she was over in some foreign land during her journalist thing. I'm sure being a bad journalist. And she tells a story about some sort of warlord named Twisted Round. And I don't get how the story of Twisted Round, the warlord, which is a ridiculous name, Twisted Round the warlord. Okay. And it's all about how Twisted Round was, I guess he was sort of faking it. He was faking it till he made it. He was terrorizing these small villages with an army that didn't exist. And, and eventually the people found out and they fought back, and Twisted Round is no more. I don't know how this relates to Madison. Maybe somebody else who was paying better attention, who cared more, can tell me what that all meant. But I was sort of zoning out at this point. I was like in and out because Al, who started off as a good character for me, is just sort of stagnant at this point. And I want to tell the writers of Fear the Walking Dead that just because you make Al say, I'm a chick with layers multiple times, doesn't make her a chick with layers. It just, it's cute dialogue. So if you actually make her a layered person and give her something to do besides being this fanatic about recording everybody's story, if you give her an actual backstory and not this shit about Twisted Around the warlord, then I would buy that she was a person with layers. But at this point, she's a haircut. I'm still shipping Al and Alicia, so if they give me that, I will forgive everything else. But no, not really. But I am sort of shipping Al and Alicia. I like them together. But Twisted Around the Short Lord, blah blah, the the short lord, the warlord. And then we get this whole story about Madison, how Madison's kids found a bird that they called Wilhelmina, Amina for short, which is just, this was just a whole lot of nothing to me. It was just there so that Alicia could find a tape later that said Amina on it, and that she would recognize it, like, oh shit, Al ran into my mom. Oh no, Amina. Like, oh, please. And it's all about how Nick and Alicia never gave up on the bird, and they believed that the bird would live when Madison didn't. And so she wanted to find a home for them so that the hope that they had wouldn't die in them. And it's just a whole lot of Madison, the mother, has never really connected with me because they act like Nick and Alicia are small children. And these are two young adults. Alicia she's still a teenager now, supposedly, in this, or maybe not. I don't know how old they are now. I don't know what the timeline on this show is anymore. But Alicia she was like 16 or 17 when this show started. So, she was still a minor, but she was not a child. And they've been trying to play, I totally understand Madison is a mother, but it's just, I feel like she should have been behaving differently. I don't think that you treat your your young adult children the way that she treated them. It's just, and I never bought into it. I felt like they were trying to sort of create the relationship that Carl and Rick had from the original show and this show, but it doesn't work because we saw Carl sort of grow up. With Nick and Alicia, it's like, why is she treating these two adults like they're small children? It never made sense to me, and it never resonated with me. So, and I couldn't buy it. So it just, it's just one of those things that I didn't like. And it was just sort of, I think it was the wrong way to go for the show. So, eventually, Madison tells her story, and they get to the point where, Al gives Madison these kimchi noodles, like a cup of noodles that every college student has probably had at some point or another. And she gives her her gun and her walkie back, and she tells her to, go on her way, go find her kids, and that maybe they'll meet up later so that, Al can get the rest of her story. And that's the before with them. That's the pre this timeline, you guys. This is the pre past. That doesn't make sense, but you know what I'm saying. That was the pre past. And in the present, they're who is it? Charlie, Morgan, John Dory, Naomi, that bitch, and Al are in the stadium, and they're trying to figure out a way to get to the infirmary so they can save John. And Naomi and Morgan go in, but Alicia, Lucy, and Strand are like the goddamn Terminator. And especially Alicia, it's so crazy. Alicia is following Naomi like she's a fucking Terminator. They're shooting RPGs and grenades at Al's truck. It's like out of control. So it just, I don't, it is crazy. She killed the vultures. All of the vultures are dead. So now she's moved on to, not Al. Naomi is her target. And there's actually a really funny moment that I really liked where Alicia, they're having a shootout. Alicia's asking Al, like, hey, I thought you were neutral. Like, what are you doing on their side? And Al is like, this is not going to end the way you think it is, because everybody is like parroting Morgan's dialogue at this point. And Alicia's like, I forget what she says to her, but eventually they get to a point where Alicia is like walking down to the truck and Lucy and Strand are up on like in the bleachers somewhere. Lucy shoots an RPG at the door that rocks the truck. And Alicia gets on the radio and she's like, now what now? And Al is like, sorry, bitch, that didn't work. This truck is made out of steel on steel. It is a tank inside of a bank vault. And then the door falls off. And it was a really funny moment where Alicia walks over and she's like, do you need help with this door? Angry Alicia, I really enjoy her pettiness. That's the one thing that I really like. Like, Alicia's petty is really great in this moment. I really like them together. I like their scenes together. So I need them to get over this little disagreement that they're having, in RPG shooting at each other. I need them to get over that so that they can be friends and eventually lovers. So Alicia gets in the car in the truck and she holds Charlie hostage. Why is Charlie here? I ask this every week. Why is Charlie here? And why is she still alive at the end of this episode? I really need to get rid of this little girl. I don't get it. Why is she still here? I feel like a child, like complaining, like crying about it. Like I'm about to have a tantrum about Charlie. It is so annoying. So Alicia and Al get into a fight, which only made me angry because they're, walkers come over to the car, to the truck. Alicia has Al like pushed out of the broken car door. And she's like holding her head out there, and the zombies are basically out there just rubbing Al's hair. They're not trying to grab at her, they're not scratching her, they're not doing anything but basically giving her a head massage because it is so crazy. I'm like, why isn't one of them? I understand that one of them wouldn't be able to bite her, but none of them like latched onto her hair, to her jacket, to anything. They just sort of rubbed her head. And it's like, we get it. She's not going to die, but if you're not going to kill the character, then don't put them in the situations where it's ridiculous when they don't get really attacked by, and it's like 100 zombies out there and she doesn't get attacked. Whatever. Eventually they get to a point where they Alicia finds the kimchi cup of noodles and she's screaming at Al like, where did you get these? And Al is like looking at her like, what the fuck is wrong with you? These are just like noodles. Like, come on, girl. But Alicia, this is Alicia's clue, and then she starts going through Al's tapes and she finds the Mina tape. Or Amina, whatever. Who shortens Wilhelmina to Amina? Wouldn't it just be Mina? I feel like they're working real hard. See, I didn't like the episode because I'm complaining about the dumbest things. So, Alicia watches Madison's tape. And she sees all the things that Madison says about how she wanted to find a home with them. It's basically, it's all the stuff that she told Al earlier. And this gives Alicia a little bit of pause, but not really, because she's still on the Naomi death train. And she goes back into the stadium to where Morgan and Naomi are, and she's holding Naomi at gunpoint. They're trying to get back out to get the medical supplies to John, and Alicia is like, no, 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 no. You're the reason my mom died. And I'm like, thank the Lord. I don't even believe in God. I'm a freaking atheist. But I was like, thank the Lord. Somebody finally said what they should have been saying 6 goddamn episodes ago. Madison is dead. This sort of mystery by omission that was happening in this show this half season got on my fucking nerves. It was not a mystery. You cannot withhold information from the audience and then be like, try to gas us up by saying, but not bringing up Madison is not a mystery. It's just annoying. So Alicia finally says what we all knew, or what we were all thinking, that Madison is dead, and that for some reason she blames Naomi. And this is when Morgan steps in front of Alicia's gun, and Alicia's like, "What? You're willing to die for her?" But not Gandhi. He stands in front of Alicia. He's like, "No, you're not this kind of person. Morgan, you met her 3 days ago, and and she's been trying to kill, you and somebody in your group since you met her. But whatever." He knows that this is not who Alicia is. And Alicia, Naomi says, "This is not who you are." Alicia's telling them that this is who she is now. She's not the person she was when she first met Naomi, which good. Morgan is telling Alicia, this is not how it has to be. He repeats the what Rick told him in the premiere episode, when Rick told him that you're always going to run into people. And it's like, really, Morgan? You finally got that? What? It's just so crazy, because what Rick said was not profound. It's like, yeah, you're always going to run into other people. You cannot, you have to live in a pretty remote part of the country and to be like pretty vigilant about not being around people in order to, not run into other people. So, but whatever, it motivated Morgan, and he finally realized that Rick was right. He couldn't run away from society. And he tells Alicia that he moved aside for Nick, but he won't do that for Alicia. And he tells her, this is not, to do this for Nick, this is not what Nick would have wanted. It's like, you didn't know Nick. I know you spoke to him for 5 minutes, but you didn't really know him, Morgan. But the show was telling us that I'm supposed to believe in this. So suspend disbelief, I guess. This somehow gets through to Alicia, and she breaks down in tears. I'm sorry. I'm not going to edit that out either. She breaks down in tears. Morgan takes the gun away from her, and she cries in his arms for a few seconds, and then they all go back to the truck they try to do these fake outs through the entire episode, where he has these moments where he sort of passes out with his eyes open and he's losing blood, so it looks like he's dead, but he's not actually dead. And it's just so, like, it wasn't suspenseful to me at all, because I never thought that he was going to die. And it's like, you spent this time, trying to fake us out with John Dory's death, but you wasted him as a character for the last, 2 or 3 episodes? So, whatever, he's fine. And then we find out that Naomi isn't Naomi. The bitch's name is June. If you could see my goddamn face right now, I cannot roll my eyes hard enough. Like, when she said this in the episode, I was rolling my eyes so hard that they almost did get stuck in the back of my head. Like, my eyes hurt that I was rolling them so hard. It was like, what? Your name is June? Really, people? This is what we're doing. What? I don't get it. All of this just doesn't work for me, but let's keep going, because if I dwell on it too long, I'm just going to be pissed. So they all get into the car, or Al's truck, and Al, the journalist, finally asks the question that she should have asked 6 episodes ago. She says, what happened to Madison? And I'm like, you know what, Al? Fuck you. Because you could have asked this in episode 2, or what was it? Whenever they buried Nick, 2 or 3. You could have asked this in that episode, because that would have been the smartest thing to do when they're all giving you these stories about Madison. They all had these Madison-centric stories, and Madison is obviously not with them. So the smart question to ask would have been like, hey, where is Madison? But no, she doesn't ask that in any of these episodes until the mid-season finale. And then we finally see what happens to Madison and what happens to the stadium. And it's this weird, like, stylized, sort of thing that they give us where, Alicia, Strand, and Lucy are telling the story of what happened. And it's like this slow motion, really fast cutting, like, flashback that we're getting. It is so, I couldn't always understand what was happening. So what happens is, they try to clear out the zombies, and it worked, but Madison, Bright Madison, got another idea to lead the zombies back into the stadium. And she does an Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park, and she lights the little flare thing, and she leads all the zombies back into the stadium. And she tries to get out. She tries to double back so she can get out, but there's too many. And so she locks herself and all the zombies inside the stadium. And what happens to the other people is that Cole and that married couple, and I guess all the other people at the stadium, they all run out. Madison tries to get them to stay, but they're like, nah, fuck that. She tries to tell them that the walls will hold, but they don't believe her. So they all drive out into the middle of like a burning zombie horde, and they get stuck in their car and they all die, which is really funny. And I hate those people. Like, I hated Cole. Cole was barely a character, but I hated that guy. It's like, really, guy? You were on Strand, scared about what he would do to you next. And it's like, but you ran out in the end too. I'm just so pissed that everybody has been like shitting on Victor Strand for having a backup plan for how to get out of the goddamn stadium. And these people that have been, they've been really like shitting on him, especially Cole, like, has been disappointed. And it's like it's like at this moment you ran out too. Like, you were a coward and you ran. And I'm not mad at them for running. I totally get it. But it's like, I hate these people. I hate all these people. Shut up. My cat is like outside the door being an asshole. Um so Madison sacrifices herself and she does the thing over the radio, no one's gone until they're gone, to Alicia and Nick, as we watch a whole bunch of people like screaming over, but it's all music and everything, and it's this slow motion sad music, and they watch the stadium burn and they know that their mom is in there dying, and it's sad question mark. I wasn't like, none of this worked for me. I'm just being pissy, I don't know, none of it worked, dramatically. um and the episode ends with all of these people sitting around the fire eating the kimchi noodles, including Charlie, because they don't want to kill her anymore. They're just, Alicia and Lucy are just willing to sit there with this little girl that killed Nick, and everything's all good. I get so many problems. I get so many problems with all of this. Like, Naomi's name is June. And by the way, that was the end of the episode. They all, eat around the fire. So Naomi's name is June. Her actual name is June. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like they want her to be the Carol of this show. Her daughter died and she couldn't save her daughter. So she's this woman that is like running from place to place, trying to adapt, which I totally get. The thing that they missed is that Naomi is a new character, and it's really hard to connect. Like, Carol, the reason Carol works is because we saw her grow. We saw her grow from this woman that was, her daughter, this abused woman whose daughter died, into this badass in the apocalypse. And we sort of saw Carol go, over the top in, how she changed. Naomi, it's like, we just met her. We just found out her name, her actual real name, in the mid-season finale. So she's just sort of this blank to me. I don't connect to her at all. I told you that I'm not really connected to the whole John Dory love story thing with her. So she's just there. I don't understand her. Like, I understand, she wants to survive and she's going to lie and, give fake names and be fake people. I get that, but that works with Carol because we know who Carol actually is. When Carol shows up to Alexandria and she's pretending to be like this housewife that has never used a gun and, misses her abusive ex-husband, we all know that's a lie. And it's sort of like, wow, what is Carol doing? Like, what's her end game? With Naomi, it's like, I don't know her. I didn't believe the story that she told about her daughter, but I guess we're supposed to believe that. So, it doesn't work to me. It's just there. Morgan, I feel like, I'm sorry, you guys. I feel like Morgan, I'm not crying. My voice is just going on me. I feel like this whole half season of time jumps, and I just don't understand why we needed Morgan as a character. He gets here and he's trying to stop these people from doing what they're doing, which could be a good thing, but it's sort of like the thing I've been saying in every episode, he doesn't know any of these people. So the fact that his words sort of connect with them at all is just surprising to me. Al, Al started out as a cool character who, that I was interested in, but now she just sort of repeats the same thing in every episode. And I'm sort of tired of her, but maybe she'll develop more in the second half of the season. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And the rest of them, you know, Charlie is still here. I don't know why she's still here. She doesn't really have a connection to any of these people. Why did we spend all of this time with the vultures? The vultures were barely characters. They all died in the last episode. I've been listening to other podcasts and they all have like these theories about the vultures, and it was like, was Charlie the one that brought the that ruined the crops, that bought the what are they called? I forget what those things are called, but whatever those bugs are that ruined all the crops. Did Charlie bring them? Did she sabotage them? And it's like, I don't know that we'll ever know. I don't know that it really matters at this point. Mel is the one that saved Charlie from the stadium. This is ridiculous. Mel was in the car with Alicia and Nick, like stranded inside that car, surrounded by zombies. But somehow he got his ass up. He found Charlie and they ended up leaving anyway. So it's like, what? He was passed out, like unconscious. Okay. Yeah, this is just making me mad. So I don't even know what I want for the next half season. I feel like all of this was just sort of a waste of time. I hate feeling that way about a television show, but I feel like this was a waste of time. Every week after, I feel like the high point of this half season was the Laura episode. And that was an episode that wasn't connected to anything else. It didn't really further the story. It was just backstory for John Dory. And when that is the high point of your half season, at least in my opinion, then there's a real problem. I don't understand why a lot of this happened. I feel like a lot of the deaths were wasted. Madison's death is wasted because Nick dies not long after she does. And I feel like Nick's death means less because the person that loved him most did, die before he did. So I feel like Nick's death would have resonated more with me if Madison had found out, if Madison was alive and Madison had found out that he died. But it just feels, I don't know. And I know, Frank Delane wanted to leave, so I'm not even mad about that. I'm not mad about Madison dying either. I'm just mad about the way they told this story. I don't know. And now Alicia and Strand are the only two people that are left from the first season. Alicia's the only person from her family that's left. We just got this ragtag group of like losers that are all, I guess, going to stay together. I don't know. I was serious. Like last night, I was on Twitter. I was seriously considering not continuing this show anymore. I was pretty mad. I was just watching this episode, I was like, why are we doing this? Why is this a thing? I was pissed. And now I'm like, okay, I'll continue the rest of the season. I'm not just going to drop the show. I will be back. I think the show comes back on August 12th. So, I'll be back for it, but I am not excited about it. Yeah, I'm not really excited about it. So that's it, you guys. This half season is over. Um, I'm disappointed, and uh, I hope the next half season is better. Um, I want, I want this to be better. I feel like I was tricked. I've been hearing people talk about season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead, and they loved it. And season 4 started really good, but I feel like there's been a bait and switch. And I know a lot of people who've been watching the show from the beginning sort of feel cheated. And I got a tweet about it on Twitter. Love Maggie, no, at crazy UK fan 2005 said on Twitter that this is absolute shit. They basically officially made Morgan the lead of the show, which was clearly their intention from the beginning. I'm done watching, to be honest. So I think they lost a viewer. She's really mad, or they're really mad. And that's, if I was a person that watched the show from the beginning and that liked the show from the beginning, I completely understand the anger that, the characters that you liked have sort of been, killed off, and the show is getting a new lead, and, whatever. And Bitch and Boutique told me on Twitter that if they wanted me to have feelings about Madison, they messed up. Habeas corpus, I can't feel sad because I feel manipulated instead. I couldn't even enjoy Nick's little face. So they couldn't feel sad about Nick, Madison dying, and Nick's sort of sadness about it, because, and I agree that the way they told the story just sort of ruined all of the dramatic, just sort of ruined all the drama of it. So that is it, you guys. I am officially done with this half season. Maybe I'll be more excited by the time August comes around, and we'll do this again then. So coming up on the podcast, on Throwback Thursday, Saved by the Bell. I'm happy about that. We finally start the Malibu Sands episodes. Oh yeah, I'm dancing badly, but I'm excited. So I'm watching season 4, episode 2, Happy Birthday Zach. So if you're watching along, the episode's available on Hulu. So season 4, episode 2, Happy Birthday Zach. Watch along with me, listen to the podcast. It'll be great. And Cloak and Dagger, go back and listen to my Cloak and Dagger episodes. I reviewed the first 2 episodes. That show is awesome. I love it. I love it so far. It's only been 2 episodes, but I really like it. And I live tweeted. So those episodes are released on Saturdays. So look out for that. Follow me on social media. On Twitter, I'm at NerdTrovertPod. On Instagram, I'm at The Introverted Nerd. And like the Facebook page at facebook.com/TheIntrovertedNerd. And I live tweet all this stuff. So the next show I'm going to be live tweeting is Cloak and Dagger. So if you're going to watch that show with me and live tweet with me, use the hashtag NerdyWatch, and we'll, talk about Cloak and Dagger together. You can also email me if you want. I'm at theintrovertednerd@gmail.com. So you can send me feedback that way, and we can talk to each other there. And my throat is killing me. So that is it, you guys. I will talk to you later. Bye.